Welcome to the Burrillville School Committee regular meeting, June 13, 2017, at 6:15 PM. Members present, all with the exception of Mr. Kamajian, who is excused. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 2.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to move to executive session under Rhode Island General Law 4246 5A1 personnel regarding the superintendent's contract.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I will poll the members into executive session. Joshua?
Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes.
Yes. We are now in executive session. I will turn it over to Dr. Pilata.
Gotta give her time to put the sign.
We are now in open session, and I'll make a note that there were no votes taken in executive session. Vote to seal the minutes of executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Next item, recognition. Being none this evening. Item 5, consent agenda, approval of minutes.
Mr. Chair, make a motion to approve the minutes of the May 9th, 2017 regular Burrillville School Committee meeting and warrant number 11 for the month of May dated June 13th, 2017 in the amount of $2,429,271.42. And a motion to approve the following bids. Fuel oil procurement to Dennis K. Keeble, Chelsea, Mass. for the fixed price of 50% usage. For the Levy Rink hot water boiler to commercial heating, Cranston, Rhode Island, in the amount of $7,900. For electrical service to Eastland Electrical from Lincoln, Rhode Island, for as the lowest priced. And dust collection system to M&M Tool and Machinery, Salt Lake City, Utah, for $9,099. It's Burke. I do have Burke, I'm sorry.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? I have one question, Bill, if you could explain what, like, numbers 50% consumption means, so I couldn't really figure out what our price would be for oil. Robin?
What will happen is we will, when we order fuel, half of the shipment will be at the fixed price, and the other half will be the, I forget what the models are, I have it in front of me, but the so many cents above tank car price.
Okay, and that's what we've always done.
Correct.
Okay, great. Anyone else? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next item, presentations by the public to the school committee. First item, Tyler Vanderbilt, Eagle Scout Project. Hi, Tyler. If you could go to the podium, please. All right, Tyler, you have the floor.
Cool. So, I'm Tyler Vanable, as you guys might have guessed, and I'm currently a student at Burrillville High School, and I also work at Wright's Chicken Farm restaurant on the side. And I'm here to ask for approval for an Eagle Scout project. Now, to get the Eagle Scout rank as a Life Scout, you must do some good for your community through some project. And I thought of a couple ideas, but the one that I really wanted to pursue was one where I build a sign in front of some school in Burrillville that does not have one, with changeable letters to inform students and parents and teachers of any dates that are essential. Burrillville High School, as you walked in, probably not walked, probably drove in, had a sign that gave you this information. Burrillville Middle School also has one, but I noticed that Callahan didn't have one, Austin T. Levy did not either, and Steer Farm Elementary did not. And right now, in front of you, I have a couple packets with 2 drawings, a side view and a front view, and also a materials list costing about $367. And Mr. Robinson has been helping me throughout the past couple months, really putting this together, and I'd really like to ask for your approval. If there are any questions or comments or concerns, I'd be willing to really take them.
Okay, thank you. Committee members, questions for
Hi, Tyler.
Mr. Vanderbilt?
Hey, 5th grade teacher. Small world.
As far as AT Levy goes, are you aware that Harrisville Fire Department has adopted that school? And there is a green sign there in front of the school right now,
Did not know
but
that.
nothing that has schedules on it.
No, I did not know that, but
Well, you probably could get some funding through them.
That's a good point.
Anyone else? Donnison?
You had given a verbal number of $300 and something dollars.
7 roughly.
'Cause I had the submission here as 466. Were you able to get some better pricing, or maybe it's just this has got some more items
Oh,
in it?
I had $466.90. To cut down costs, I would really need to get help from I think the school committee and also the town has some of the equipment necessary. I might even have some myself. As of right now, this is the majority of materials. There might be some cuts based on what the town has. But to bring that cost down, we would really need to really push for that, sort of.
Maybe I misheard the
Oh.
quote. I'm not sure if you had said 3 or 400. Maybe I just didn't understand.
I might have said 300. I'm a little nervous. I
That's
don't
no,
know.
no, it's okay.
But-
That's perfectly fine. I just didn't
Oh.
know if that was the actual number or if this was the number. It's
Okay,
fine.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, that's good. Thank you.
Now, where would this be? Would it be where the, what do they call it now?
Gazebo?
Yeah, where the gazebo is? Would it be in?
I think right now
School
there's a little
area?
bit more of a leaning to go more towards Callahan. Callahan had one, but it I think broke and fell down a little while ago. Yeah. So we're thinking about maybe replacing that one. If that is not able to be done, then Alston T. Levy would probably be the backup. That's what we're thinking right now. But I'd also like your opinion too on what you think would be the best location.
So you're thinking one of the 3 schools?
One of the 3, yes.
Town common, I think you'd have to go to the town council and get permission to put a sign there, because that is a town common.
And
Callahan?
Instead of Levy School.
To replace the one that's not there.
Yeah, we just, we had one of those windy, the spring we didn't have, and the sign was just, I don't know if it's around there, but the sign was just taken out. With a huge gust of wind, it snapped off from the top.
anyone else?
Put it at the town common, and it could be a town-wide kind of thing.
Next Eagle Scout.
Keep going.
I think you only get Eagle Scout once. I think you only do it once.
Anyone else? So this sets a little precedence for this school committee because we've never funded an Eagle Scouts project before, so if you don't mind, we'll ask Dr. Pilata what,
Okay.
if we have a policy or if we need to establish a policy or what the recommendation may be.
Well, we don't currently have a policy where we fund, in our budget. There's no line item in our budget to fund projects that come before us of a public nature. School committee has to be very careful about approving funding because that will open it up to many organizations to come in here to ask the school committee to fund projects. So I would suggest that if you're able to work with the fire department or any other group in terms of fundraising, then our facilities director would be more than happy to work with you to place that permanently. But I think you really need to find a way to fundraise those dollars.
Okay.
It's a great project, and don't give up on it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Good luck.
Next item on the agenda. Blended learning presentation by Justin Allen and Julie Mayhew.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So earlier in the year, Mr. Allen and I presented a little bit about what's happening with our blended learning initiative in the district, and I wanted to just take a few minutes to fill you in on what's been happening since we last spoke in the fall, and talk about how the work is scaling out across the district next year. Justin, do you have the clicker? So, thank you. Oops.
Go ahead. It's all right, go ahead. Just Do your project.
Okay. Puffins were not part of this project, so I'm going to talk a little bit about Pineapple Week and why pineapples. So pineapples are an international symbol of welcome, and when our teachers who are participating in the Blended Learning Project went to visit some other schools who had implemented this, they saw that those schools had pineapples hanging outside their classroom doors. And so the pineapples are a visible symbol to anybody who is in the building. That classroom is open and anyone is welcome to come in at any time. So the teachers who are participating, who were our lighthouse classrooms this year, put pineapples outside their doors to indicate that their colleagues were welcome to come in and share a little bit of their journey. Certainly by no means were these people experts in blended learning. They were just willing to take that leap and work hard to try some new and innovative ideas, and they were really excited to share that learning with their colleagues. So what we decided to do as a district is to implement this Pineapple Week to give the idea of a pineapple classroom a kickoff. So for 1 week, each school had a single day where the teachers worked with the administrators to create a schedule and to set it up so that there was coverage for any teacher who might want to go and visit one of those lighthouse classrooms and see the kinds of things that were in place in their rooms. And then there were also pineapple ambassadors from our district technology committee who were also available to answer questions of teachers who were visiting. So what we did was we had those days in each building, and we had lots of visitors. We had some school committee members who came to see what was going on. We had principals, we had teachers from other buildings, and certainly their colleagues from within the schools. And the next step was then to create a schedule in each school that will remain there. Now, each school approached it from a different perspective. I put some examples up there for you. So the middle school, for example, has a whiteboard that's dedicated specifically to blended learning work in action, where the teachers who are lighthouse classrooms can indicate on a date of the month when they might be doing a particular project or implementing a particular piece of a blended learning model or using a particular app that people might be interested in, so that people have an idea of when it might be a good time to come and visit if they're available. The one below is actually a Google Doc. The high school set that up, and they are sharing out that Google Doc with their entire faculty. And so it's updated on a regular basis, letting people know what's going on in classrooms or when people are available, for example, on their unassigned times to answer questions if teachers have questions. So again, teachers are continuously invited to visit during those times and drop in to see the work in action. What's exciting about this is that we had so much positive feedback from the people who went to visit those classrooms, talking about a broader understanding of what blended and personalized learning really means, and able to really see that there were lots of different aspects to it that they hadn't considered. So every classroom looked different. It's not a cookie cutter thing, and it's not really even about the technology so much as it is about shifting our approach to instruction. So moving from a teacher at the front of the classroom teaching to the entire group, everybody moves at the same time, everybody learns at the same time, the same thing, same pace, to a more dynamic, flexible, small group and individualized instructional model where students get to choose perhaps the pace at which they learn or the method by which they demonstrate their knowledge of a content area or topic. So you can see some examples here of ways that it was implemented at the high school. The one on the right is a geometry class where students had their learning targets for the day posted on the board, and they had a variety of different ways to go about that. They're using different tools and different kinds of technology to do that, while the teacher is then working with groups with her at a particular station, and then there was another station that was doing paper and pencil tasks. In a social studies class, the teacher had posted that there was a project that they were working on together in collaborative groups working with Google Docs, so everybody could be editing at the same time. I loved being in that classroom. The group that I'm showing you had a student who was out sick that day. The teacher gave them permission to text their friend who was out sick. He was well enough to sit up on his couch and open up his laptop, and he was able to participate in the work that was going on from home. So he didn't miss out on some really critical instruction and work just because he missed a day of school, which was terrific. At the elementary level, again, there's a lot of variety. The computer that you see at the top left-hand corner is an example of a student who's reading a document that's associated with our science kits from the FOSS website, and he has a split screen so that on the left side are his notes about his reading. That's a second grade student. There were some fifth graders, I think, Mrs. Thompson, that's your class, right? Using screencasting, thank you Screencastify, to create a presentation for their classmates explaining, I believe that was how to do long division, right? The bottom left is some first graders who are working with their iPads with Osmos, which are these great little gadgets that have mirrors attached to them, and they're actually able to move manipulatives like letter tiles and number tiles onto a pad that the iPad then detects, and so they're able to use manipulatives and work interactively with their computer. And again, another first grade classroom was demonstrating all the different kinds of technology that was available. So it takes many forms. And it was very exciting work. Again, we had a lot of teachers who came to us and said, wow, we're really excited about this. We're really energized about this. We want to do this. So the next steps are really to scale this work out in the district, bringing aboard that next wave of teachers who are excited about shifting the way that instruction happens in their classrooms, are fast followers. And they're thrilled to be able to do this. So our goal from an administrative standpoint is to be able to support them. Our Lighthouse Classroom people are excited to be mentors for them next year, and we're excited to be able to continue that work and bring it out in a broader basis across the district. Just so that you know, in the middle of the year, I had shared with you that we did a survey with the teachers to kind of get a sense of what they were feeling about it. We did another end of year survey. We got a lot of really positive feedback. You can see 91% of the teachers indicated they were able to devote more time in their classroom to working with individual students and small groups than they were last year. 82% said that they were able to differentiate for their students' needs more than they were last year, and that's with 100% saying that they were able to do that at least as much as last year. But the majority said more. 73% showed us that their students had more choice about their learning, again, as I said earlier, about the pace or about the method by which they demonstrated their understanding, and that their students were more engaged in the model that they had in place. And we had 64% who indicated that their students were more successful in meeting their grade level content standards this year because of the model they had put in place. And that one's going to be in flux. I think it was a lot of learning for teachers. So their sense was that they had not necessarily implemented it as efficiently as they might now that they have a year under their belt. So my hope is that we'll see those numbers go up as we continue out. What I like most about this work and what I'm most excited about is what the teachers are asking us for. So we had a get together of all of our Lighthouse Classroom teachers. They came to us and they said, here's what we want, here's what we need. We want to continue to work with people who are going to come and observe our classrooms and tell us what it looks like and support us with setting goals and check in with us. We want opportunities for ourselves as early adopting classrooms to meet with each other, to collaborate, to talk about what we're doing. We want opportunities for all the teachers to be able to go from school to school and classroom to classroom to see each other's work. We want to be able to go to other districts and see what they're doing so that we can bring that learning back to us. And we want our administrators to support us in that. And so what's great from my perspective is that all of those desires from teachers dovetail beautifully, not just with this blended learning and personalized learning initiative, but also with the shared leadership initiative that we've been bringing forward in the district this year. Those goals are very, very similar. And so the work that we're doing on both ends, eventually I hope is going to come together over the next year to 2 years into something pretty spectacular. So that's all. There are just some pictures here showing you what it looked like when teachers went to visit the classrooms. You know, again, the excitement that was there was really palpable, and we're hopeful that that work will continue. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any question from committee members? Sylvia?
Julie, when do you expect 100% of the teachers to be doing this?
Julie, could you please?
I will. I'll come back. Sorry. So this is the kind of thing where I feel like it's really important for us to have teacher buy-in. It's not something that's going to work if from somewhere up on high we say, everyone must do this, right? That's not the premise of blended and personalized learning. So it shouldn't be our premise either. I think, you know, teachers, we all get excited about things when we see that they work and we see that our friends and our colleagues are doing them with success. And so I feel like this is going to be a very organic build out. The teachers who worked on it this year have brought in colleagues who are very excited about it, who are then going to adopt it next year. And my sense is that as that gains some traction, more and more people are going to get involved. And so as people step up and want to start doing this, we're going to support that movement. My sense is that it will probably be exponentially larger groups each year. So I see us probably in 3 or 4 years being in a situation where the majority of our teachers are using some sort of a blended and personalized model in their classrooms. But I'm not looking for like a hard, fast number any particular time. Yeah.
I just have a statement. It really pleases me to hear that the teachers are working so closely together, and more of you are doing that. But what pleases me the most is the students are enjoying learning. Hooray, hooray, hooray.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I can't take much of the credit at all. It's the work that the teachers have been doing,
Thank you
and
to the
Justin, and absolutely.
Thank you.
Sylvia?
Alex first.
I was just gonna say, when I stop in the middle school specifically, it's so visible, and I just see pineapples everywhere. So I'm sure it's like that in all of the schools. But that's what I love about it too is, like Mrs. Carden said, everybody is so excited about it, and it's visible. So when parents come into the school, they see it, they then ask, why are there pineapples everywhere?
Yeah.
So it gets the buzz going. So thank
We
you
took
for
a lot
that.
of grief for the pineapples, but they're making the point. So, and one thing I would add to that too is, the kids, especially at the middle school, really got excited about the fact that there were other adults in their classrooms watching what they were doing. A piece that we didn't expect from that was that it really built a sense of student engagement and a student sense that the work that they were doing was important. It was important enough that other adults were coming to watch and see what was going on. And so they were asking the next day after Pineapple Day was over, well, wait a minute, where are all the teachers? Are they coming back? Who's coming to see what we're doing? So I think it's great when the teachers have that sense that collaboration and that shared work is really important. That absolutely expands out to the kids too, so.
Thank you for all your
Sure.
hard work.
I agree with both of them. And I also, I had a teacher once, after I retired, say that dealing with the core curriculum and everything that they had to do as far as evaluations, that it sucked all the fun out of teaching. And I think this is bringing back and allowing teachers to be creative and using different kind of models to teach kids, and I think that's wonderful.
Thank you. I agree. The feedback that we get from teachers is universally positive for many of those reasons, so thank you.
Right. Thank you. I just preface my few comments with my love for technology too. I do, despite what some of my comments in the past have been, I do appreciate technology. I've learned a lot myself because of it, and I can appreciate the desire to bring that into the classroom. I think there's a role for it, and one of the things I've found in a lot of the research that I've done with respect to the role of schooling, whether or not it's driven by the needs of the business community versus what parents and teachers would like education to be, which is to improve student futures, for the individual and for what's best for them. My concern surrounding the use of technology and the reliance on software that's developed, two things. One is there a potential for a diminishing role of the teacher in the classroom in relying perhaps on some of this outside software to dictate and sort of transition students into a more online learning environment that may take away that interaction that the teacher may have with the student? Because I think we all think, education is best for what's best for the individual students, whereas the role of corporate America is what's best for them in terms of developing, obedient, compliant workforce, And I know it when I was testifying at the State House against Common Core when that was surfacing. The head of the Rhode Island Manufacturers Association said, perhaps a Freudian slip, we have to buy these children when they graduate. I mean, to say those words means that, he just came from a conference with Jeb Bush in Florida and said, so I only bring that into the context of this because I I'm always concerned about that driving force of technology being, y- for the role of corporate America versus, you know, what we all think we should be doing for our children, which is educating them for what's best for them. And so I always caution that, and I throw that out as a, you know, a way for us to keep our eyes on the ball and not lose sight of that, and not lose sight of, and maybe you could speak to the diminishing role of teachers and whether that is indeed true.
Absolutely. I'm glad that you asked about that, because I think it's a really critical piece of information, and it's something that we don't want there to be any misconceptions about. So I've been very clear, Dr. Pilot has been very clear, and the people that we've worked with from the Highlander Institute, our Fuse Fellows, have all been very clear that the function of the technology in the classroom is not at all to diminish the role of the teacher. The function of the technology in the classroom is to allow students to continue learning on an individualized and carefully chosen path that's aligned to their specific needs, so that the teacher has the opportunity to then spend more time working with individuals and small groups to ensure that everybody is getting the learning they need. So, you know, getting back to part of what Sylvia was talking about, the content that teachers have to teach is tremendous. And so if you're a classroom teacher and you've got 24 kids or 27 kids in front of you, and you have grade level content that you are responsible for teaching them, but you have some students who are reading at 3 or 4 grade levels below, and you have some students who are able to access that content, let's say it's a math class, you know, at a level that's 2 or 3 maybe grade levels above, you're responsible as a teacher for making sure that all of those children continue to learn, not just the content that's in front of them, but from wherever they are. So you have to close those gaps and continue to accelerate the learning of students who are beyond it. So what the technology is allowing us to do is, in a very concrete and specific way, to make sure that students are continuously engaged and that nobody is having lag time in the classroom. So I, as a teacher, can do maybe I do my whole group content at grade level, but then I can pull my students into groups that I have carefully selected based on my data and organized based on that data, and then make sure that I spend the most time with the kids who perhaps need the most growth, that my high flyers might get a little bit more time with me on the outside. They might be doing something more independent, but so the teacher is always responsible for the actual learning that's going on, even with the technology. So the apps that we're using all require teachers to continuously monitor whether students are using them effectively. And they require teachers to analyze the data that comes from student use to make decisions about what they should be working on next or how those groupings should happen. So from my perspective, you know, the role of the teacher is not diminished, it's just enhanced by the ability to really personalize some of the learning that's going on.
And would you say the curriculum involved in those online programs is driven by the teacher, sort of? I mean, obviously curriculum development is district-wide, but
Right.
are the apps sort of uniform, or is it more, where's the teacher's role in getting the nuances of the teaching, sort of? I guess it's the one-on-one conversations that you'd have with the students and that kind of thing.
Right. Well, and it also depends on the kind of app you're using. So, for example, with something like GoFormative, that is a program, and Justin, you can help me a little bit, or Monica, feel free to jump in, right? So the teacher controls the content that students are working with. And in real time, so I was in an algebra class with this one time, the teacher had put in, 10 problems that she wanted the students to work on. And so she had her laptop in front of her, and in real time, she could monitor which students were accurately answering those questions, which students were not getting them at all, which students were a mixed bag, so that she was able to watch those red, yellow, and green dots next to students' names and move around the classroom in a way that was incredibly efficient, going directly to the kids who needed her most, and letting the kids who were able to do it continue to work on their own. So that's one aspect. There are also other pieces like Lexia that's in use at the Levy School, where it's an adaptive program, so students are assessed, and then based on their skill need, the program will actually assign them activities to work on to build deficit skills, and then based on their performance in that, it will allow them to move to something different. The teacher, though, monitors that assessment data and then the work that's going into it, and can then adjust or support that work with additional one-on-one lessons. So
Pretty effective, I would say, right?
there's some really good stuff going on, so
That's good. Yeah, didn't mean to put you on the spot like that.
No,
but,
that's
you know,
okay.
those
That's
kind of questions I always
why I'm here.
Answer questions.
I love answering
I
questions.
think, Julie, I think what point that Donaldson makes is, the technology has to be, we'd be remiss if we didn't put this technology in with our students. Most
Absolutely.
second graders already have more technology advanced than I do. It's just, they're just kind of born with it now. But I think the point that Donaldson makes, and that most of school committee members are concerned of, is the safeguards that are in place to protect our students' data and to protect the wolves of private industry. I know that you do that, so I'm not asking you, do you do that? I know you do that, because that's really a question that, we all want to make sure that
Sure.
our students' data is protected, and that there isn't a corporate and private industry that's out there collecting this for a reason that we don't want them to collect it for. So
Exactly.
I know that you do that, where kids are in good hands with the technology, so.
But it's important to keep bringing those concerns forward, I think, because we all need to be mindful about
Right,
them, right?
exactly.
And with
That's-
each new step, we're really trying to be very careful and thoughtful about what we're doing with all those pieces in mind.
It
So.
works, we just want to make sure the safeguards in place. Thank you very much.
sure.
Does anyone else, Dr. Valano?
Just a quick comment. Technology has really expanded the role of teachers, and it's involved the home, direct contact with the home. Through our grading procedures that we have now, parents have the ability to communicate directly to the teacher and vice versa. So technology has expanded the role of the teacher, it has not diminished the role of the teacher, but it's demanding more of the teacher in a different way. And it's like you go to the doctor's important word that he always tells you, do everything in moderation. And technology, you have to do it in moderation, but it's still under the control and the management of the individual teachers in the classroom.
Very much.
Right.
Thank you.
And I really love the fact that the creativity is back. That's a big, big deal with me.
It's exciting for the kids and the teachers, definitely. Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
I remember when I first became chair and I was meeting with the principals, I brought an article I'd cut out and had a picture of a student with a laptop and said, hey, no more snow days. We're getting there, right? Won't be long. There will be no more snow days.
There's a bill that's in,
Yeah, I
General
know.
Assembly
We're
right
getting
now.
there. Thank you, Julie. Thank you very much. That's very informative. Next item, public comment. Anyone wishing to speak could come up to the podium, state their name. Bill, would you like to speak? No. Good. I'm with you on that. Thank you. Item 8, personnel, appointments, leaves of absence, retirements, resignation. Let's do leaves of absence first.
I'm gonna leave this absence first, okay. Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to accept, the following leaves of absence. Megan Taylor, science teacher at Burrillville High School, 2017-2018 school year, and Paul Turcott, the custodian at Burrillville Middle School, 8/1/17 through 12/18/17.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next item, appointments. I will accept the motion to approve the appointments as presented, and if anybody wants, there'll be copies of appointments available for anyone who may want one.
So
Second?
moved.
Someone else can make the motion.
Make a motion to accept, the list of appointments as presented.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion?
I have to recuse myself from Lindsay Allen, the resource teacher from William Callahan School.
Okay.
She's a teacher of my son right now, so I don't want to vote on her.
So noted. Thank you, Josh. Anyone else? Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, with that one exception.
Okay, name, rank, and serial number. No, just name is fine. Amanda, could you stand up, please? Welcome. All right. Thank you.
Resignation.
Well, so how about the summer guidance? We have to do it separately.
That's all
Next items is the recalls.
Mr. Chair, I would make the motion, but I cannot find the name. There we go. Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to accept the recall of Marissa Tabey, .4 English Language Arts teacher at Burrillville Middle School.
Second.
Motion second, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And lastly, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to accept the following resignation with much regret for Valerie DeMarco, social studies teacher at Burrillville High School, effective 8/31/17. On a side note, I just want to thank her for her years of dedicated service, and I wish her all the best.
Second.
Motion second, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next item, fiscal year 17 BSD budget update.
Motion to open.
Second?
Motion open to second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion?
Second.
Motion to approve in a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next item, FY 17 rink budget update.
Motion to open.
Second?
Motion open to second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We don't need to do any action here, right? Great. Next item, Levy Rink renovations. Chris Lacy.
Motion to open.
Second?
Motion open in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you.
Well, as you all know, that the bid came back very high, due to, there's a lot of work out there, and there was only one company that bid on it. So I'm asking the committee now if I can, like, be the general contractor and sub it out myself, do RFPs with Bill's help putting them together to make sure they're right, because that's not my specialty, paperwork, and to get all the pricing through the RFPs, and then come back to you with an approval of that number. And at that point, if you guys approve it, then we go to Nichols and say, all right, this is the money that you got to come up with and the new contract. Because a lot of the work I can do myself. I mean, I can't do excavation, I can't do foundations, but I can do all the carpentry work. I can do all the painting. I can do all the rubber floor. I can do all the insulation. I can, you know, there's plenty that I can do that I've shown you people in the last 9 years that I can get done. So I would like to try to do this, like to try to get you hard numbers so that you guys can see it. And then if you're all for it, let me go forward with it.
Okay, I think there's just 4 technical matters that should be addressed right off the top, because we don't take care of the technical matters, the rest doesn't really matter. So, 1, we need a written letter from the fire department regarding the fire lane,
We already talked to them.
but we need a written letter, so the committee needs on file a written letter.
Yeah, that's fine.
Item 2, we need to resolve the Board of Administration issue, because the Board of Administration, the rink is under the Board of Administration's jurisdiction. So, like other things, such as the Eccleston Field House, we still need to get the Board of Administration's approval to work at the rink. The third thing we need is we need approval from the Levy Foundation to alter the rink with an addition. So those 3 things in particular, until we have those 3 letters in hand, the rest doesn't really matter, because if any one of them contests or denies the work, then the rest of the work is for naught.
My only question on a couple of those, first of all, you got me kind of lost on the Levy Foundation. Levy Foundation has nothing to do with the rink anymore. It was given to the town, the original letter says it was given to the town for the town under the school's charter to do what they needed to do. So I don't know who's going to give us a letter from the Levy Foundation. That confuses me. As far as the what you call a fire lane, it's been defined as, it is not a fire lane. That is not an access road, that is not a fire lane. They're okay with it, but I'll get you the letter, that's not a problem. What was the other one?
Administration.
Board administration, I don't understand that one either, because when all the renovations were done 10 years ago, there was no letter mark given out for that 10 years ago, because it has been taken over by in charge by the school department, owned by the town. So I'll get on the Board of Administration's agenda or talk to somebody who will give me a letter to go whichever way I need to go. The fire department, I have no problem going over and talking to the fire marshal of the building, because I've already talked to him, the chief, and the deputy chief, and there's no problem with it, which I will do. The Levy Foundation, I'm a little confused. I don't know who I would talk to, nor that it's under their jurisdiction anymore.
Right, so that might be one in the same in terms of the Board of Administration, because the Levy Foundation left these buildings to be administered through the Board of Administration.
Correct.
So the Board of Administration and the Levy Foundation may be one in the same in this regard.
Again, the original letter, which I have a copy of, I don't have the original, but I have a copy of it. It says that the rink was given to the town, but to be under the direction of the school department, which was, the superintendent was named. So, again, I don't think that's a piece of the puzzle that I can fit. The Board of Administration, I would be more than happy to go talk to.
Okay.
The fire marshal, I've already talked in the fire department, that's not a problem at all. I'm very confident in that, because we've had these discussions. They mocked up the plans, they have a copy of the plans, so I don't see that as a problem. But going through all of this, and I will do all those steps, I'm still asking if I can start working on the other financial pieces of the puzzle, so this doesn't hold it up another 30 days, so I can come back and say, here's my 2 letters, here's my answers, and here are all the pieces of the financial picture to put the building up, the addition up.
And so the only other piece of the puzzle that should be in place prior to you and Bill doing a lot of work is Nichols College at this point isn't aware of the bid that you received, right?
I told them that an alternative that I was gonna come back and talk to you, because they wouldn't support that money that bid was.
So they know what the bid was.
Correct.
Now, do we have
They
any?
don't know they don't know the exact dollar, because I know it was 700 and change, I wasn't told the exact dollar.
So do we know if they would be on board with kind of a piecemeal job or an in-house job? The details of that, with you doing it in-house, is, like, I think right now, the projects that you and your staff and your assistant have in the summer are a lot. I don't know if you could take on a project like that in your off-season and still get your other work done.
Again, I've done these buildings years ago. I mean, I've been out of the business for a few years now. It's a block building. It's what we see here. There's no frills and thrills. Again, it's not Nichols' building. Nichols has helped funding it, but it's not their building.
Right.
So if they accept the blueprint, the footprint, I should say, of the blueprint, and everything goes the way they want, they're buying their own lockers and have them installed. That's something that's not in, that they're taking care of. So if they go with it, I don't know what the question would be. The question is, I sent Robin a copy of what they want to do for the lease, which we didn't even tackle that yet because that's kind of far off in left field before we go there.
Right.
But I'd like to get the numbers together so we all know that, am I chasing something, that the numbers are going to be astronomical, or is it something that's really going to happen?
I understand. Is there any questions or input from committee members? Sylvia?
Speaking of the Levy Foundation, are we expecting, or are we going to ask for funding from them?
No,
And why not?
because they're not going to give it to me. They won't give it to me for that. I've dealt with them right now, Mr. St. Pierre.
Because it's Nichols,
Because it's
Advantage.
Nichols, it's not gonna benefit the Burrillville, they like to benefit the Burrillville kids, the Burrillville residents. They're not, I know they're not, I can ask, but I've gotten $115,000 over 8 years, and I don't feel confident that I'm gonna get money on this one from Nichols. I really don't, for
well,
Nichols.
one good thing with kids is they'll have their own lockers or their own rooms.
Correct,
About it, right?
yeah. I mean, I can make that phone call, and I will, but I don't wanna make that phone call until I know if it's gonna go in motion.
Joshua?
Yeah, so, you indicated that Nichols was not comfortable with half of that, or half of the 700,000.
No,
Have they indicated what they would be comfortable with?
somewhere around a total cost of 300,000.
Okay.
Which is a realistic cost of that building.
So if you go out and you get these bids that you're gonna need to get to do the other work, we'll know then whether it's worth even going down that,
Correct.
the rest of the pike anyway. We might be shut
Correct.
off at that point anyway.
Correct.
Okay.
It's in the RFPs, it's 8 to 10, 10 at most, 7, 8 at least. It's not, because a lot of it, again, I can do. I mean, I can paint it, Mark. I can put the rubber down. I could do the interior trim. I can insulate it. I mean, I showed you guys that I can do this. I've been doing it for 9 years.
Well, we know what you're capable of. There's no doubt about that. It's just that we don't want to stress your workload that you have now for doing work in the Nichols locker room, or at least our half of it.
And Nichols is very important that we keep them.
They are very important to me.
Keep them.
Well, it's again, as I stressed the last time that I was up on this podium, I'm just the rink director over there. I work over there. You guys are making the ultimate decision. I know what Nichols is looking for. I know what it's going to take to keep them. I know how much money they bring in. I know how the rink has changed financially in the last 9 years from where it's gone. I know where I like to be there 10 more years. I know where I want to bring it, but that's all your decisions.
So to maybe elaborate on Joshua's question, so if the number came in at 300,000, which might be comfortable for Nichols, and they're willing to, say, put up half of it, where would you get your half of the other 150?
Right now, I have in the checkbook, can I say? Right, $196,000. Right now in the checkbook, $196,000. I have one payroll of the fiscal year left and 2 small warrants because there's no ice.
So you would want to draw down the surplus funds.
I'd like to draw it down, but as it always worked before at the rink, it'll be the startup of the ice, money will be coming in. Next year we are even booked more next year than we were this year because now Nichols is gonna take some 7 in the morning ice during the week. So I can sell the night ice to the outside vendors. The junior hockey league took more during the week for the young kids. Instead of they getting 5 hours a lot, now they're getting 7, 8 hours during the week. That's not counting weekends, it's during the week. So it's helped a lot with Nichols taking that morning ice at 7 a.m.
Yeah, and I don't want you to get the impression that I in any way think that you're not doing a great job at the rink, because you are, but it's our job to make sure to cross the Ts and dot the Is. And
I get it, but before I come to you, I'm not gonna make a fool out of myself and know that that's a file lane and not have discussed that. I mean, I know Bill's gone down there himself and talked to him, but over length, we went over there and measured from, even from the school to the building to how far apart it was to make sure that everybody was in the same, and where the doors were gonna be placed and everything was gonna be done, because I don't want a problem with the fire department. I don't want a problem with the building inspector, which we already talked to the building inspector. So, I've done
They'll
my,
have no
I've done my
problem
field
issuing a
work.
letter. Yeah, they'll have no problem issuing a letter that the blueprint as presented is acceptable with them.
Yep.
We made it. Okay, great. Okay. Is there any other questions from committee members? So I think I'll ask for a little direction from our fearless leader on this.
Put him on the spot.
Because, to me, it just seems like we need at least to involve the Board of Administration. We'll need the fire department letter, but we'll certainly need to involve the Board of Administration, because the building comes under their jurisdiction. Right now, they're in the dark about it, they're probably not. You know, there's probably, chairman of the council is probably well aware of what's taking place, but we would need a letter from them saying that this would be acceptable to them to change the appearance or to put an addition on the rink. And and I think that would probably be the two letters that we would need to see, at least to let it go to RFPs on a scaled down version instead of, you would still have to do prevailing wage, because we already crossed that bridge, so we still have to do prevailing wage, but in-house work wouldn't have to be prevailing wage, whether it's DPW, this staff, or yourself with drawings, so.
Well, I think the first step is, with the experience with the Eccleston Fieldhouse, the Board of Administration required a letter from me asking them to renovate the Eccleston Fieldhouse. So that was the first step. We had to get permission because it comes under their jurisdiction. And so does the rink come under their jurisdiction. I think you also have to go before the town council, where you say the town council owns the building, but we oversee it and we have jurisdiction of the programming there. So the town council, I think, is another step you've got to go before and ask permission for them to alter that building. So you're gonna have to have plans that are gonna have to be drawn up to be very specific with them. Third is, you know, we have a bid number from a contract of maybe $721,000 in that area. You're putting out there a number of $300,000 based on the work that you think you can get done. You really think you can do $400,000 worth of work?
I had a price of the addition last year from a contract of $260,000.
Get that in writing?
Did I have that in writing? He took the set of prints and gave us a price. That's what he did.
So he's not available anymore?
There's big discrepancy with the numbers. If you feel as though the $700,000 is not an adequate number because there was only one bidder, and there's another way to try to get validated numbers under the $700,000, then we're gonna have to have that information. I think what the committee is concerned about is, we don't want to put the committee on the hook for $500,000 or $400,000 if it doesn't pan out. The other thing that I'm concerned about is we can't have Nichols dictate the contract. We haven't even had our attorney look at the contract because nothing is definite. So that's gonna be another step in the process. And whether or not Nichols can draw up their own language, we would take a look at it, and the committee would certainly have to agree to that language. Nichols, I believe, based on the contract that they wrote, was a 10-year commitment,
Correct.
downgrading it percentage-wise every year. I think that's the way,
As a buyout.
Mm-hmm.
and that was based on $280,000. Nichols is not willing to do or make an investment anything beyond $300,000 or above. That's what you said?
$300,000 or above.
That's their bottom line, $300,000.
As a total job.
As a total amount.
Job cost. So if the number comes in higher than that, then
It's a
there's
dead
no
issue.
project. So you have to try to get the numbers in below $300,000 or less.
Again, I'm telling you that I
That's a
believe-
great challenge, Chris.
Yes, it is, and I believe it can be done. But if you don't want me to go in that direction, you tell me the direction that you want me to go, and I'll abide by the direction.
Well, I
If the
think-
direction is we forget about it and we don't do it, that's okay. I understand.
I don't think anybody's saying that. I think we don't have concrete information.
Well,
There's no concrete information.
And I agree with you. So what I'm saying to the committee is, let me put it out for bid, get the hard prices by me being the general contractor. Now you have something to go by. It's a number of 300,000 or it's a number of 550,000.
Well, I don't, you know, I'm concerned about when you say, let you be the general contractor. What does that mean?
That I oversee the project.
That you're bonded and validated to oversee electrical, plumbing, and heating?
It's gonna be it's gonna be inspected by the town inspector.
How can you be the general contractor?
I'm gonna sub it out. I'm gonna be like a general contractor. I'm not gonna be the general contractor.
Oh, I don't know, I think there's legal questions associated. I don't wanna get in the way of the project, but there's a lot of legal questions associated with what you're saying, Chris. You know, in the end, the school committee and the school department has to be protected legally for liability.
I get that, I understand that, but again, I don't wanna use examples or anything. Dr. Plata, if you don't want me to go, or this committee does not want me to go down this path and wants to forget about it, whatever you guys want me to do. I'm asking for direction. So my direction is, give me direction, what steps you want me to do?
I would accept the motion from the committee that we get a letter from the fire department confirming that it's not a fire lane issue. We get a letter from the Board of Administration with approval to renovate, and we get approval from town council that they will allow a renovation of the building. They just spent, not that long ago, $1.5 million on the building, so they'll, literally, like we've spent the last 3 years convincing them that they own our buildings, and they need to pay for the maintenance of the buildings and the taxpayer. So we owe them that to get their approval for this. So I think if we could get those three letters, then we can move forward with setting out the RFPs to see if we can get it done within the $300,000 budget. But without any one of those three things, we can't do the project anyway. So if the Board of Administration says no, we wasted our time. If the town council says no, we wasted our time. If the fire department says no, we wasted our time. Nobody wants to waste time. Bill's time is very valuable. He's got a lot of projects going on. Chris' time is very valuable too. But those three components are required to even go to RFP, in my opinion. So
We may not
I have a, put up a motion on the table. If I have a second, we can go to discussion.
Can I,
Once,
A motion, oh, no, I can't.
you can't make but you could, I could make that motion. I just wanted a clarification with respect to, if I were to endorse that motion, allowing, upon receipt of those letters prior to our next meeting, that he begin those bids. Because we've already asked that maybe we're gonna postpone to July 18th, so
Right.
if this,
That's
if this can be done in a shorter time,
acceptable to me, yeah.
okay, I would make that motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Discussion?
We may not need the Board of Administration. I just checked with my husband, who was on the Board of Administration up until last year, and he said I asked if it's under the jurisdiction. He said, not that I know of, it's under the control of the school department, so he thought.
Right. So we'll
to
still need that letter,
identify
because we
that.
just crossed that bridge
So
with
is the
Eccleston.
Eccleston Field House. And we were told by the town council we needed to go before the Board of
It is.
Administration.
Eccleston Fieldhouse is.
Same situation.
So we'll at least need a letter from Board of Administration saying that they have nothing to do with it and that it's irrelevant to them. Okay? Further discussion?
Yeah, I just want to state for the record, I'm not against the project. I just want to make sure it's done correctly and to make sure that the fiscal piece is in place and the liability piece is in place. That's really important.
I I've done for 9 years to make sure that that rink is run properly and that there's no, the health and well-being of the citizens of this town and the people that use it, that there's not a problem. And I'm pretty proud of what's gone on over there in the 9 years. So I don't think I would let anything happen to an addition to say to put up an addition. I'm not here to do that. What I'm here to do is, I'm making a business decision as I run the rink. That's the building that I run. So this business decision I'm bringing to this committee and Dr. Pilata, you guys give me the direction, I'll run with the direction.
Right.
That's all I'm asking.
That's perfect. That's exactly what we do. We take a director, a business manager, the committee, superintendent, we put all our heads together, we make sure things get done properly. That's exactly how it works.
That's all I'm looking
And that's
for.
what we need to do. I have a motion and a second. Further discussion?
Further discussion? Yeah, so, the timeframe of this is Nichols, like, if we don't do this, like, you seem to be really, we need to get this done, like, in the fall and get this done before the ice season starts, right?
Their season,
is
October
that what the-
15th.
That's what the push is right now, right? So if we don't get that done this year and we had to do it next year, what's the ramification for that? Which is Nichols,
That I can't give you an answer. They have 3 years left on their original lease. So I would think that if it doesn't get done this year, they still got 2 years after this year left.
okay,
Right, that's what I would think.
that's what
I don't see them running off to Worcester to go rent the new ice rink in Worcester. But I do know, for the reasons that they have, why they want these locker rooms. It's a recruitment tool for them.
Mhm.
They're a small fish in a big pond, and by having a locker room, it's $52,000 a student that they bring into that rink. And it's what they have now, it's adequate, but it's really not nice.
But there's been no indication that if we don't get it they don't get it this winter, they're gonna.
They're gonna look to move if from what I'm getting from them is they're gonna look to move if we're not gonna do something for them because this is what they need. This is the indication that I get. But, I mean, and then again, they wanna build a hockey rink, but I don't see them building a hockey rink and they talk about it for the land they just got back from the golf course. They can't touch a golf course for 5 years. And then we all know that a plan in action could be another 5 years. So, it's like us. We gotta spend our money on the core of education before we spend it on, building a synthetic field.
Any other questions from committee members? Motion is second. We're done with discussion. All in favor? Aye. So you understand what you and Bill or whoever is gonna
Yeah,
get
I'm
for us?
gonna go to the fire department, I'm gonna get a letter from the fire department, say we can put a building up on that file lane.
Yep.
I'm gonna get a hold of whoever I gotta get on the board of administration.
John Pacheco, he's the
Oh.
president of the Board of
I'll
Management.
get a hold of John, that's easy then. I'll get a hold of John, talk to John, see if he can have a meeting to give me a letter, or he can get me a letter too. And then the third,
Town council, John
I'm gonna go
Pacheco,
see,
John
I'm
Pacheco
gonna
can
go
help
see
you with that
Lois
too.
to see if I can get on their agenda
Yep.
to talk to the town council,
Great, perfect,
okay?
thank you.
And then at that point, I get those letters, I can start working on the RFPs.
All right, give them to me, then
You review them.
you'll have permission to go forward based on the motion to get the pricing.
So I get you the letters, give them to Dr. Pilata. He reviews them. If he gives me the thumbs up, I'll start working on our RFPs.
Right,
At that point, we'll know what the number is. I come back to you
Yep.
guys, say, here's the number, and then we go from there.
Right.
So that's the direction that I'm taking.
yes.
That's what I asked for. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you, Chris.
Item 10, superintendent's report.
Motion to open.
Second?
Motion open in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just one thing to report, Mr. Chairman, just to remind you about the graduations at Steer Farm, Callahan, and Burrillville Middle School. I gave you that schedule as a handout. That's all I have to report, Mr. Chairman.
Does anyone have any questions for the superintendent? Hearing none. Andy, you need a motion. Next item, administrators' reports. Give it a try, Alex.
Oh, Okay. Mr. Chair, I make a motion to receive and file this month's administrators' reports with thanks to all the administrators that put them together. Yeah.
Just the way Mike would have said it.
Second.
Barring any
gotta-
questions or concerns.
Can we add to that motion that we stop the reports for the coming summer?
July and
We
August.
did that already.
We did that?
Did that
Last month.
last
Did we
month.
do that last? Yeah, I wasn't here last month.
Yeah, see?
There it is.
Yeah.
I wasn't here. I just wanted to make sure they weren't gonna keep coming in.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion?
I just want to congratulate the class of 2017 and thank all who were involved in making Friday night such a great success. I enjoyed myself. I know the rest of the committee did
Great.
as well, so,
Go Broncos.
yes. Go Broncos.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Wait. Sylvia's not done yet.
I got some, yeah, this is
So do you have discussion for this or a different question?
administrator's report
Okay, good.
right now. How, the autism project, who is doing that? Okay. And do you happen to know what conscious discipline is?
I'm not an expert. I can tell you that generally speaking, it is, it's an approach to discipline that aligns with PBIS.
Okay, I was gonna ask that too.
It's a very proactive, positively based, way of intervening before an issue becomes a big issue in the classroom, so.
As far as PBIS, have we gone further with it? I mean, to where, you know, how it affects kids internally? You know how PBIS is responsible, ready to learn? Is there more to that? Have we gone further with that?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand.
Julie, if that's out of your wheelhouse, we'll wait until Miss
Okay, I'll ask that
Candace
another
is
time.
here and then.
Okay. RICAS, we're now doing that? Okay. And that's a big thanks from us. That's wonderful, because we've done some, as far as school committees go, in the state of Rhode Island. I've been to some of the meetings, and they were talking about how we should mirror what Massachusetts is doing because it works for them. So I think that's wonderful. Now, being a reader, can you tell me something about that?
Sure. So being a reader is going to be a replacement for foundations in grades K to 2.
Okay, why is it better than foundations?
So, that might be a more elaborate conversation for another time, but the gist of it is, I'll give you the snapshot of it. The gist of it is that foundations teaches skills in isolation, and the research tells us that students learn skills better when they're able to apply them immediately in connected text, and that's what being a reader does. So we'll cover the same skills that foundations does with the added advantage of students being able to apply them immediately in connected text in actual books.
Okay,
And it also builds in.
and writing.
It builds in handwriting like Foundations does, and it also builds in classroom intervention. So there is a whole group lesson aspect of it, but there's also a small group piece for teachers as well. So students are assessed and working on their own levels, which is something we've been doing since we started the Readers Workshop. This just structures it a little bit more for teachers and gives them, it's gonna require less legwork on teachers' part to go and find the correct materials and find the correct intervention. So hopefully we can be successful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sylvia, go ahead.
Uh-huh.
I also want to say that, being a reader, as we're understanding that, having a real community piece, like a real, allows teachers in the first few weeks of school to really build a community in the classroom and how they're going to work together, which couples together with what we do in school with PBIS. So there's a real nice connection, and we're seeing
Great.
it bring on community with.
Wonderful. I got another one. Robin. The out-of-district tuition savings, I was looking at that, and we have saved as far as tuition goes, but what about equipment for the physically disabled student? And one example that I found yesterday, or that I was told yesterday, there was a disabled student, I'm not sure where she is in the continuing of classrooms, but she was a student at Meeting Street School, And because Meeting Street School lent her the materials or the equipment that she needs, one was a chair and one was a walker, they took it back. And now Blue Cross is failing to pay for or, providing any equipment for her. So we're saving in tuition, but what about equipment that some of these students need?
Is she still at Meeting Street or in?
No, I believe she's in Burrillville.
Well, I think the first thing that will be done is whether or not the IEP team agreed, whether or not she needs to continue with the equipment. So that would be a team decision. And I don't have the answer to that. If the team decided that the equipment is needed, then we become responsible for that.
So the school department gives it, as far as that. Is there any way to get funding from other places? Like, one is the Shriners. Do we
Well, we have
go to them at all?
Not that I'm aware of.
No? Okay.
Medicaid reimbursement, right?
So Medicaid would cover if it's deemed necessary? Okay.
So students that are eligible for Medicaid, we submit expenses on their behalf, and we receive a portion of Medicaid. So it's not a one-for-one.
Okay, so would this equipment or whatever she needs be loaned by the school and owned by the school? Okay. Thank you. All set, I
Anyone
think.
else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Next item, reports of school committee subcommittees. Dr. Block, can you report for, Mr. Kamaja?
Robin will.
Robin? Okay. Thank you. That was item 12. Item 13, correspondence communications.
Can I come in now?
You sure can.
Sorry, I'm taking over everybody's time. But, I had given some information through Dr. Pilata to, school committee members, and it had to do with, what's happening in, the Dallas Children's Advocacy Center. And that, I talked to Julie about that too. And that has to do with, a really short thing that teachers can go online with to get them familiar with what their responsibilities are when it comes to identifying kids who have been abused or neglected. And it actually talks about all of these kinds of things, including grooming, physical abuse, neglect, substance abuse and child abuse, and talking to children and handling disclosures and making reports. I think it's a really important kind of thing. It's very reasonably priced. I think it's $145 for 250 licenses. It takes 10 minutes, basically, to go through this thing, and I think, teachers and the school department will benefit greatly from it. The other thing is the information that I just gave you today, and it talks about what California is doing as far as the troubled children. This is my big deal because when I was a classroom teacher, there were some of these kids that no matter what I did, I didn't get through. No matter what I did, I didn't get them to advance in their education. So, and a lot of them, over time, I've seen them in the newspaper because they have been in trouble with the law or whatever. So this is actually what California is doing. They're talking about promoting trauma-informed teaching to reach troubled kids, and basically it's working with teachers as far as getting them to identify, getting them to work with kids as far as bringing them to where they need to be. It's also backed by brain research, schools promoting trauma-informed teaching to reach troubled kids. California schools are addressing the effect of trauma on health and achievement of students. So it has been actually proven that it's working. And I would hope that as a school system, that we look into that and maybe we can reach those kids early in their life, early in their education, because I do believe that once a kid comes into the school, that's where these problems are not so much addressed but found, and we need to work with those kids. I do also think that those are the kind of kids that will bring our scores down as far as the whole school department, school system, and if we can bring them up, that would be fantastic. It helps teachers to better manage the traumatized student in the classroom, and these kids have been exposed to all kinds of things at home, negative things at home, and in the classroom they're either withdrawn, they're either self-injurious, they have classroom outbursts, they might swear at the teacher, and I know as teachers we've experienced many of this stuff. So if we can address these problems within them, maybe we can get them to do things in the classroom. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Question? Dr. Plata, we already have school psychologists, do they not? Teachers forward these students, recommend these students to the school psychologist, the parents are drawn in, and through a special program, they're already being looked into when we have a traumatized student who is having problems in school, it is already noted. Do our school psychologists already do this?
Yeah, they do. We pick up a lot of that in, sometimes in preschool. Kids are that young where we pick that up. We have the psychologists that address that in addition to the social workers. But I think the survey that you approved last month or the month before and the one that's before you tonight speaks about depression, suicide, violence, and addressing those issues. And what we try to do is when we get the results back of that, the results that these people coordinate, they apply resources, they apply grants, and they look at districts that come out high on the scale with some of these issues.
As far as major problems, as far as high on the scale according to major problems.
Correct. And, you know, then we become eligible for some funding through grant opportunities. And we do sit down with the psychologist through the special education director, and they talk about these issues. But the important thing is to first have the data. Once we have the data, then we can address it in a district-wide manner. But we certainly pick up those kids at a very young age at the present time. We can take the data and then transfer it to the implementation part. That's what you're talking about, the implementation. How's it going to get implemented? You know, we certainly have the staff to make that happen.
I'm not saying just the specialist. I'm saying also classroom teachers will be able to understand what's going on rather than coming up or having the kid coming up against them. Even, you know, I'm sure it happens mostly in high schools, but even in the elementary kind of thing, that teachers have the skills to work with those kids and to deal with their difficulties.
It's a good point. You're right. I mean, you know, which professional development is critically important, and it's certainly critically important in the mental health area. And, you know, we have to expand out in that area and look at the mental health issues of kids.
We talk a lot about bullying.
Yeah.
And I know.
We address a lot of that. I mean, we've brought in people to talk about bullying, harassment.
But I think the bully needs the attention. I think the victim needs attention, but I think the bully needs more attention because we need to turn that around. Otherwise, you know, by punishing and giving them, kicking them out of school for a week or whatever, I don't know if that is actually fixing the problem. But I think if we can get to the bottom of it in a way that's constructive.
No, we don't just suspend. There are activities in place where those kids have to meet with the psychologist or the social worker on reentry. They talk about the conditions of the bullying, the conditions of the harassment. Teachers meet periodically to go over certain cases with certain kids. And the goal is to try to get the whole school on board in terms of sending those kids a pretty consistent message about behavior and making good choices. And that's where PBIS comes in, that's where RTI comes in. It's really gotten the schools to be all on the same track and learn a different language, how they interact with kids. But that's gonna be ongoing. The professional development in helping teachers to understand that and implement that is going to be ongoing. And we just hired 6, 7 new teachers now. We need to get them involved. And there are other teachers who have been through training for all of that. So it's ongoing. It's something that has to be in the front burner all the time. And I think through PBIS and RTI and the skills that current teachers and administrators have developed, we're in a pretty good situation. But I think we need to make it better. And sometimes there are kids that are missed along the way. I'll be very honest with you. It happens. But at some point when those kids do get picked up, we've got services in place that we can address those issues. But I think the PD for the teachers is really important, and we'll try to find a way to make that happen. It's true. Mental health is a big issue today. Sometimes we focus so much on academics that the mental health impedes the ability for kids to improve, so we take a hard look at that. And that's why these surveys are important, to get the hard information, hard data.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else under correspondence communications? All right, I have a couple of things. So I've been we're fortunate enough in our community that we've had, since April, we've had 2 young men attain Eagle Scout status. So anyone who has, grown up scouting and been part of a troop knows how much effort this takes. So in April, we had Nathan Matthew LaCroix. He attained his high honor, and coming up June 12th, tomorrow, we have Robert John Card attained his high honor. And they're both from the same troop, 102. So Tyler, what troop were you from? Shot Mission Situate. What number is, 102. All right, so, and these troop leaders just devote all their time and effort to these kids. And these kids are just, these young men who attain this are just invaluable to our community because they really set such a good example. And these troop leaders that devote their time to this, it's just, I just thought that needed mentioning. So very, very proud to have these Eagle Scouts in our community. And I also have a communication from Dr. Whaley announcing that our proposal to the RICTE Trust was accepted and fully funded for a total of $50,000. This is to implement Project Lead the Way engineering program at Burrillville High School and a PLTW Gateway program at the middle school. So that's just another terrific thing going on in our schools. That's all I have. Anyone else? All right, so we'll move to item 14, new business. 2017-2018 school handbook.
Can I make a motion to approve all of them? Or do you want to take them
You
separate?
can make that motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to accept the 2017-2018 school handbooks from all schools district-wide.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Next item, Rhode Island Student Survey.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second?
Have a motion and a second. Discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
No.
if I may, again, anonymity always comes up. I know Dr. Pilata had mentioned about intervening in situations where there may be evidence of abuse, and I think that's to be applauded to try and look for those things. Is this particular survey one in which it is identifiable to the student, or are these anonymous surveys, do you know?
No, it's an anonymous survey. It's spelled out in the directions that I provided to you.
I must have missed that, I apologize.
It has to be signed by myself, school committee. They have to get final approval by RIDE by the end of the month, July. All of that gets communicated to the principals. They send out a passive form, welcome to the schools packet in August and September to the parents. And then there's anonymity with the student names, and no student names are utilized. Just the results of the data. And the purpose of it is when they see high incidence levels in the various areas of bullying, depression, suicide, substance abuse, alcohol, what they do is collaborate with the other state agencies and then attempt to provide resources to improve the areas of weakness in the communities. And this is in collaboration with the Department of Behavioral Health Care, the Department of Disabilities, URI, Department of Education, have all combined on this. They do this every year.
Well, I mean, it's certainly important to keep track of trends and things like that. I mean, I question certain parts of it, but, you know, in a general sense, I can't fault the intent, you know.
Any other questions from committee members? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next item, extend superintendent's contract for the 2017-2018 school year. Oh, nobody wants to make a motion.
I make a motion to extend the superintendent's contract,
I have a
2017-2018.
motion.
I'll second.
Now they're moving.
Now they're,
Don't leave, don't leave.
A motion and a second. Any discussion?
we wanted 2 or 3, I think that was the, we were holding out for that, but.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 2017-2020 strategic plan.
To accept as presented?
I will second that motion.
A motion and a second. Discussion?
Yes. Question, will the Burrillville strategic plan be revised now that Rhode Island is using the RICAS? No, yes? Okay, so we're expecting this to stand with minor adjustments?
Just grammatical
Yeah,
changes,
we
right?
tried to use generic language as far as the assessments are concerned and the standards. But to the objection of Mr. Allen, Rhode Island has adopted Common Core as their expectations of achievement. So we have to follow that.
Further questions from the committee? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 15, committee on agenda items. Hearing none. Item 16, field house renovation dedication.
I have some information that Mr. Kamajian gave me relative to that. We're waiting for some additional information on that. As far as the staff appreciation night, I suggested to Mr. Kamajian, and I believe he agrees, is that upon retirement from any staff member who served 25 years or more in the school district, that we would present them with a certificate of appreciation at the June meeting, and he seemed to agree with that. And we really haven't discussed the school bus employee appreciation recommendation yet.
but for the staff appreciation, that it's 25 years of service and retirement in good standing.
No gold ring? No gold ring?
Gold watch, nothing?
No more gold parachute either.
I think the town council would appreciate.
I don't think so.
Do you require that in a form of motion, or just all
No,
agree?
no, I just
information
wanted,
right now, right?
just bringing you up to date what Mr. Kamaja and I had talked about relative to those areas.
I agree with that.
Item 17.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.